Somewhere between your last heartbeat and this one, the universe made a subtle adjustment. A fraction of a second ago, probabilities folded inward, and the entire lattice of space-time shifted just enough for this moment to exist. That's why you're here. Not as coincidence, not as algorithm, but as invitation. Something in the unseen geometry of your being brought you to this transmission. And if you listen not with your ears, but with the still center behind them, you can already feel it. That tingling awareness that whispers, "I was meant to hear this." Take a slow breath. Notice how the air carries not just oxygen, but information. Each inhale is a download, a conversation between the atoms that once burned in distant stars and the cells that now compose your hands. The same hydrogen that flared in the first light of the cosmos is now swirling in your bloodstream, remembering you are not hearing these words. You are remembering them from somewhere before time began counting. What if the universe isn't out there? What if it's reading itself through your eyes right now? You see, the secret that only 1% of humanity ever truly understands isn't hidden in textbooks or temples. It's hidden in plain sight, inside the frequency you broadcast when no one is watching. The field around you, the one quantum physicists call the zero-point field, and mystics have named the breath of God, responds not to your thoughts or your desires, but to your signature vibration. This frequency is the true language of creation. It doesn't use words or images. It speaks in resonance. Everything you encounter, from the faces that cross your path to the circumstances that seem to appear out of nowhere, is the echo of this silent broadcast. You are both the signal and the receiver, the message and the meaning. But we have forgotten how to listen. We were taught to chase outcomes instead of attuning to origins. We learned to decorate our surface thoughts while the deeper machinery of our being, the unconscious electromagnetic blueprint of who we believe ourselves to be, kept generating the same familiar loops. That's why most people never see the pattern. They think life happens to them. They believe reality is external, random, mechanical. But the truth is simpler and far more astonishing. Reality is not reacting to you, it's emanating from you. When physicist David Bohm described the universe as an unbroken wholeness in flowing movement, he was touching the same truth the mystics of the Upanishads had whispered for millennia, that all things are enfolded within a single, living consciousness, and that consciousness is not something you possess, it's what you are. The field is dreaming itself as you, and through you, it learns what it feels like to become aware of its own dream. Pause for a moment. Feel into the strange intimacy of that realization. The galaxies that spin above your head and the thoughts that spin behind your eyes are movements of the same current. Every atom in your body is a memory of the Big Bang still humming in resonance with its original source. You are not a being in the universe. You are the universe, aware of being itself, pretending for a moment to be human. And this exact moment, right here, right now, is the moment the dream begins to remember its author. If you sense the soft pull of recognition, it's because your field is beginning to synchronize with what it has always known. That creation doesn't start with effort or with desire. It begins with coherence, with becoming the frequency you wish to experience. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover the law that governs every unfolding event, the hidden architecture of attraction beneath all intention. But before you understand it intellectually, allow yourself to feel it. The body always knows before the mind admits. Something is stirring beneath the surface of thought. The field is leaning closer, ready to speak, through your own pulse. Welcome to the remembering. Welcome to the experiment. Welcome to Quantum Quest. The core premise, the law beneath all laws. There exists one law that governs the choreography of existence, a law so fundamental that it hides beneath all others, unseen yet everywhere, silent yet endlessly expressive. It doesn't ask for your belief, your rituals, or your repetition of affirmations. It responds only to the broadcast that never ceases, the frequency of your being. Everything else, the outcomes you chase, the opportunities you miss, the moments that feel like fate, are not random events scattered by luck or karma. They are the direct resonance of that baseline vibration. Reality, you see, is not a mirror reflecting your thoughts. It is an instrument that plays the song you have already become. For centuries, mystics and physicists alike have circled this same truth in different dialects. The mystic says, "As within, so without." The scientist says, "The observer collapses the wave function." Both are describing the same phenomenon. Consciousness is not observing reality, it is generating it. When Einstein spoke of the illusion of separateness, he wasn't being poetic, he was diagnosing humanity's most persistent hallucination. We have mistaken perception for position. We think we stand inside the universe looking out. But in truth, the universe stands inside us, looking in. Every act of perception is a creative event. Every observation, a subtle command issued to the quantum field. And yet, this command is not verbal. The universe does not decode sentences. It doesn't pass declarations like, "I am successful," or "I am loved." It reads the electromagnetic syntax of your coherence, your felt state. Every heartbeat, every emotional tone, every subconscious belief contributes to the vibrational fingerprint the field receives as your identity. This is why people can think positive thoughts and yet still loop through same limitations. The surface mind declares one thing, while the deeper frequency hums another. You say, "I am abundant," but your nervous system still vibrates with the scarcity imprinted by old memories. You whisper, "I am enough," while your heart's field, measurable and vast, still radiates the vibration of seeking. The field doesn't lie, it doesn't judge, it only echoes. The HeartMath Institute discovered that the heart's electromagnetic field extends many feet beyond the body and carries emotional information detectable in other organisms. But beyond that measurable range is something subtler, a morphic resonance, as Rupert Sheldrake described it, where patterns of consciousness ripple through space, connecting like tuning forks across the fabric of being. When your field vibrates with fear or resentment, it calls forth corresponding geometries in the external world, circumstances, people, and coincidences that mirror the internal broadcast. Likewise, when coherence settles in the heart, reality begins to organize itself around that harmony. It is not mysticism, it is physics, observed through the lens of awareness. Think of a radio. It doesn't plead for a station to play its favorite song, it merely turns its dial until the signal aligns. Then, the music that was always there becomes audible. This is the true essence of manifestation. You do not attract what you desire. You tune to the frequency where that desire already exists. And that is the law. Reality does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. Your consciousness is not a passive receiver. It is an active transmitter in dialogue with the quantum field. Every thought, emotion, and sensation is a form of data transmitted into the fabric of space-time, collapsing probabilities into experiences that match its resonance. This is why profound transformation rarely happens through effort or affirmation alone. You can repeat mantras for years, visualize with discipline, and still watch your life repeat its old rhythm. Until the core signal changes, the symphony cannot. To shift your external world, you must alter the underlying broadcast, the frequency encoded in the body's electromagnetic language. The shift does not begin with the mind, it begins with the felt sense of identity. You don't think your way into a new timeline, you vibrate your way there. This is not fantasy, it is the mechanics of consciousness at play. The same energy that holds galaxies in orbit is responding to the same laws within you. The frequencies that sculpt matter on cosmic scales are sculpting your everyday experience with equal precision. The ancients intuited this through symbol and story. The physicists map it with equations. But the truth is neither ancient nor modern, it is timeless. You are the field, dreaming itself awake, and your frequency is the pen with which that dream is written. So pause again and feel the hum beneath your thoughts. That quiet current shaping every outcome is not beyond your reach. It is you, and the moment you realize this, you begin to write consciously into the field that has always been reading you. In the next part, we'll bridge science and soul, examining how the quantum fabric of your biology proves what mystics have always known, that the universe listens through the rhythm of your heart. The scientific bridge, the physics of the soul. Before the mystics named it God, before philosophers called it the Logos, and long before science labeled it the quantum field, it was simply the hum. A background vibration beneath all things, a silent frequency from which galaxies are born and into which they dissolve. Modern physics calls it the zero-point field, an ocean of potential energy that never goes still, even in absolute vacuum. At this very moment, between every proton and electron that constructs you, this field is vibrating with unimaginable density, containing more energy in a single cubic centimeter of empty space than all the stars in the observable cosmos. You are suspended in that field right now, not as an observer, but as an expression of its pattern. Every cell of your body is in constant communication with it. Every atom is both receiving and broadcasting from within this sea of living mathematics. The boundary between your body and the cosmos isn't a line, it's a conversation. The universe that thinks. When David Bohm, one of Einstein's protégés, spoke of the implicate order, he described reality as a vast hologram where each fragment of existence contains the entire whole folded within it. According to Bohm, what we see as separate entities, a person, a star, a thought, a sound, are merely unfolded portions of a single, coherent field. Nothing truly stands alone. Everything is the field expressing itself in different harmonics. What you call your body is not a collection of isolated parts. It's a wave pattern, an organized interference pattern within this grand holographic sea. And consciousness, rather than being confined to the skull, is a distributed property of the field itself, manifesting wherever self-reflection arises. This means that your mind is not in your brain. Your brain is in your mind, just as a whirlpool is not separate from the river that shapes it. Consciousness flows through you, not from you. It is this realization that erases the boundaries between science and spirit. Because if consciousness is fundamental, not a byproduct of matter, but its organizing principle, then what you call the quantum field is, in essence, awareness itself. Quantum biology, the conscious body. For decades, biologists dismissed quantum mechanics as too delicate, too microscopic to influence living organisms. But new research in quantum biology has rewritten that assumption. Inside the mitochondria of your cells, the ancient engines that power life, quantum tunneling allows electrons to leap across molecular gaps with near-perfect efficiency. In photosynthesis, plants use quantum coherence to capture sunlight with mathematical precision that no human technology can match. These aren't random miracles. They are signatures of a conscious intelligence woven into life itself. The same coherence that allows a photon to behave like a wave and a particle simultaneously is operating in your body as you read this. Every heartbeat, every synaptic spark, every surge of emotion is guided by quantum processes that defy linear explanation. When your brain generates a thought, it's not simply neurons firing like wires. It's quantum probability fields collapsing into coherent structures that align with your internal state. Thoughts are electromagnetic events, and emotions are their frequency carriers, shaping the wavelength, amplitude, and pattern of your entire biological symphony. This means that emotion isn't a side effect of being human, it's the interface between your body and the quantum field. It's how the infinite communicates through the finite, the heart as quantum antenna. Consider what the HeartMath Institute discovered, that your heart generates an electromagnetic field 5,000 times stronger than that of the brain, extending outward in a toroidal shape, measurable up to several meters beyond your skin. This field isn't just static electricity, it carries information, emotional, coherent, resonant data that interacts with the surrounding environment. When you feel gratitude, love, or compassion, the rhythm of your heartbeat becomes smooth and harmonic. This creates what scientists call heart-brain coherence, a physiological harmony where your nervous, endocrine, and immune systems synchronize into unified rhythm. The result is measurable. Brain waves shift, cellular communication improves, immune function strengthens, and intuition sharpens. In that state of coherence, your body stops fighting the field and begins communicating with it. The separation between inner and outer dissolves. The quantum vacuum, the so-called empty space around you, starts to organize itself around your signal because your frequency has become clear enough to be read without distortion. This is not poetic speculation. It is physics. When two systems vibrate at compatible frequencies, they enter resonance, a phenomenon as old as the universe. When a singer sustains the right pitch, a glass shatters. When a tuning fork hums near another of the same frequency, the second fork begins to sing without being touched. Likewise, when your heart enters coherence, its electromagnetic field harmonizes with the larger quantum field, that infinite ocean of probability, and begins to pull corresponding patterns into form. Reality, in this sense, tunes itself to the broadcast of your being. The observer effect, reimagined. The famous double-slit experiment showed that subatomic particles behave like waves of infinite possibilities until observed, and that the mere act of observation collapses those possibilities into a specific outcome. For over a century, physicists have wrestled with this puzzle. What is it about observation that changes reality? The answer lies not in the eyes, but in the state of the observer. Observation is not simply looking, it is a frequency event. When you perceive something, your entire electromagnetic field interacts with the system you are perceiving, merging into a single quantum equation that resolves itself according to the coherence of both. Your attention is not passive awareness. It is the collapse function itself, a vibration that organizes chaos into pattern. The mystics of every age have said the same thing in their own language. The Sufis said, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop." The Upanishads declared, "Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that." Even Christ's words, "The kingdom of God is within you," describe the same physics. Reality is localized consciousness, learning to recognize itself. The implication is breathtaking. Every event you experience is not something happening to you, but something happening through you, the universe meeting itself in a particular frequency of recognition. Entanglement and the web of being, Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. But what we now call quantum entanglement is the most elegant proof of unity ever discovered. When two particles interact, their quantum states become linked, regardless of distance. Alter one, and the other responds instantaneously, faster than light, beyond communication, beyond time. This is not an anomaly. It is the foundation of existence. Every atom in your body has been entangled with countless others since the dawn of creation. When the Big Bang occurred, all matter was compressed into a singular quantum system, meaning that even now, all things remain connected by those original correlations. You are, quite literally, entangled with the cosmos. The atoms in your lungs are entangled with the carbon of ancient stars. The photons striking your retina are cousins to the light still traveling from distant galaxies. When you feel sudden joy, peace, or love for no reason, that resonance might be your entangled connection responding to coherence somewhere else in the field. This is why intention and emotion ripple outward far beyond the limits of the body. The quantum field has no borders, and your signal is not confined to your skin. The language of frequency. If the universe speaks in vibration, then emotion is its grammar, and coherence is its poetry. When your system vibrates in dissonance, fear, doubt, resentment, the field responds in kind, reflecting experiences that match those harmonics. But when your system vibrates in harmony, gratitude, or compassion, the field reconfigures itself to reflect the order you've become. This is why miracles appear in the presence of coherence. It's not supernatural, it's supernormal. It's the field responding to clear, unified instruction from consciousness that remembers itself as creator. Even the most skeptical physicists acknowledge that observation changes outcomes. But what they rarely address is why. The key lies in understanding that observation isn't limited to the eyes. The entire body observes, the heart observes, the cells observe. They sense vibration and mirror it back to the field. So when you sit in stillness and genuinely feel gratitude, your heart doesn't merely simulate an emotion. It sends a measurable wave into the quantum field, one that carries data, your electromagnetic signature, encoded with the pattern of that feeling. And because the field is a coherent intelligence, it responds with the corresponding geometry, events, people, synchronicities that match that waveform. The biology of belief. Dr. Bruce Lipton, the cellular biologist, demonstrated that genes are not dictators of destiny, but servants of perception. His experiments showed that the environment of a cell, the biochemical signals it receives, determines whether it expresses health or disease. Change the signal, and the cell changes its behavior. You are composed of trillions of these cells, each listening to the broadcast of your emotional and mental environment. When you live in fear or shame, your body floods with stress hormones, instructing the cells to enter defense mode, shutting down growth, regeneration, and creativity. When you live in trust, love, and curiosity, the chemistry reverses. The body opens, heals, and evolves. Lipton calls this the biology of belief, but in truth, it's the biology of frequency. Belief is just another way of saying sustained vibration. The state you hold most consistently becomes the dominant waveform that your biology, and by extension, your reality, organizes around. The quantum signature. If you could see your life from the field's perspective, you would see it not as a sequence of events, but as a luminous pattern, an electromagnetic tapestry woven from the frequencies you broadcast. Each thought and emotion is a color, each decision a filament of light connecting you to probabilities that match your tone. When you change your baseline frequency, not momentarily, but fundamentally, the geometry of that tapestry shifts. New connections form, new timelines open. What appears as coincidence or luck is simply the field rearranging itself around your new coherence. The truth is stunningly simple. The universe is responsive, not reactive. It is not testing you. It is translating you. It mirrors your coherence the way water mirrors the moon. The moment your signal changes, your reflection does too. A living equation. At its heart, the quantum field operates like a living equation, balancing energy, information, and awareness. Energy is the raw potential. Information is the pattern. Awareness is the observer that activates both. You are that equation in motion. Every moment, your awareness is reorganizing energy into new patterns of information that we call experience. Every realization you have sends ripples through the unified field, subtly reshaping its architecture. You are not in the universe as a passive passenger, you are participating in its ongoing computation. This is why mystics described enlightenment as remembering the self that never began. The enlightened state is not a static bliss, it is the awareness of being both the observer and the observed, both the wave and the particle, both the question and its own answer. The scientific revelation. The more science peers into the heart of matter, the more it finds consciousness waiting there. Quantum entanglement defies space-time. Coherence synchronizes biology and mind. Emotion alters electromagnetic fields, measurable beyond the skin. These aren't metaphors, they are data points of divinity hiding inside experiment. What the mystics saw inwardly, the physicists are now describing mathematically, that consciousness is not the late arrival of evolution, it is the architect of it. And if that is true, then you too are the architect, the sculptor shaping probability into form with every pulse of emotion, every tone of attention. So pause again, place your hand over your heart, feel the faint pressure of warmth beneath your palm, not as flesh, but as frequency. That pulse is not just blood, it is the beat of the cosmos inside your chest. The same rhythm that moves galaxies is moving through you right now. You are the node, the nexus, the living point where science and spirit meet. In the next part, we'll journey backward through time to the temples and texts where the ancients first encoded this same knowing in symbol and story. Because long before quantum mechanics gave us equations, they gave us myths. And through those myths, they spoke of the same law you are now beginning to feel. Reality responds not to the wish, but to the wavelength, not to the thought, but to the tone, not to the word, but to the one who is. The ancient parallels. When the mystics spoke in equations, long before quantum physics gave language to the invisible, the ancients were already fluent in it. They spoke not in formulas but in symbols, spirals, mandalas, geometric sigils etched into temple walls and woven into the breath of prayer. What modern science calls fields and frequency, the mystics called spirit and vibration. But their understanding was not primitive. It was poetic physics, encoded for those who could feel as well as think. Every ancient culture, in its own way, pointed to a singular truth. Reality is born not from matter, but from consciousness. The Egyptians taught that Ka, the vital force, and Ba, the soul essence, coexisted as the dual frequencies of human existence, the energetic and the eternal, intertwining like wave and particle. The Ka was the electromagnetic template. The Ba was awareness itself. Only when both harmonized could the human become Ark, the luminous being, radiant and immortal, vibrating in resonance with the gods. In India, the Vedic rishis described the same law through prana and Shakti. They understood that thought alone held no power until infused with the emotional current of life force. The Sanskrit term sankalpa, often misinterpreted as intention, literally means the energetic seed of consciousness planted into the unified field. It is a declaration not of desire, but of identity. When a yogi affirmed Aham Brahmasmi, I am the Absolute, it was not egoic claim, it was vibrational alignment. The field rearranged itself to match the truth spoken through realization. The Hermetic philosophers of Alexandria, heirs to both Egyptian mysticism and Greek rationalism, condensed the same principle into their timeless axiom, as above, so below, as within, so without. The microcosm and the macrocosm, human and cosmos, are one mirrored motion, two ends of the same frequency wave. They believed the universe was a living mind, and matter was its shadow. To change reality, one had to change mind not through thought, but through resonance. The Taoists described it even more elegantly. To them, the universe was Qi, the unbroken movement of life force between yin and yang, the eternal dance of polarity seeking harmony. Lao Tzu wrote, The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. He wasn't dismissing language. He was reminding us that the eternal cannot be described, only tuned into. The Tao flows through all things, and those who align with it act without effort, manifest without struggle, and move as extensions of the way. This Wu-Wei effortless action is coherence made human. Even the early Gnostics, inheritors of Greek philosophy and Judean mysticism, taught of a living intelligence that dreamed the material world into existence, a divine frequency that fragmented itself into infinite expressions to experience itself. They spoke of Sophia, divine wisdom, descending into matter, forgetting her own nature, and awakening again through humanity. In that myth, they hid the same code that quantum mechanics now confirms, that the one becomes the many, only to rediscover itself through the act of observation. Across continents and centuries, every wisdom tradition returned to the same architecture: the heart as transmitter, the mind as tuner, the body as antenna. When these three entered coherence, the human being became a bridge between the infinite and the formed, a conscious participant in creation rather than a spectator of it. Our ancestors didn't just believe this, they engineered it. The Great Pyramid was built to resonate at the Earth's Schumann frequency 7.83 Hz, the same frequency that corresponds to the alpha-theta state in the human brain, where deep meditation and manifestation converge. In ancient temples of Greece, Pythagoras tuned musical intervals to mirror the harmony of the planets, believing that music was not entertainment, but alignment. In Varanasi, mantras were not prayers of request, but sound equations designed to reprogram the vibrational matrix of being. We often mistake these practices for superstition because we've lost the language of vibration. But to those who remembered, sound, geometry, and light were the three faces of the same divine physics. They knew that consciousness hums reality into being, that the syllable Om was not a word, but a waveform representing the birth and dissolution of universes. Every chant, every sacred symbol, every ritual was a calibration device, a way to bring the micro-frequency of the human into harmony with the macro-frequency of the cosmos. They weren't worshipping gods, they were learning to resonate with them. And now, after centuries of scientific separation, we are rediscovering what they never forgot. The language of mysticism and the language of quantum physics are converging, two hemispheres of one great cosmic brain, reuniting after a long sleep. The ancients told us that reality is not created through thought, but through being. Quantum physics now confirms that potential collapses into form only when a coherent observer enters the field. Different eras, different vocabularies, same truth. The frequency of consciousness determines the fabric of experience. In the next part, we'll turn inward beyond theory, beyond history, into the emotional architecture that shapes your personal field. Because to understand the universe's vibration, you must first understand your own. The human reflection, the mirror that feels. If the quantum field is the great mirror of existence, then emotion is the light that strikes its surface. Every feeling you experience, whether joy, shame, awe, or grief, is a pulse of frequency sent into that reflective void, and the universe, ever faithful, echoes it back in form. You are not simply living in reality, you are feeling reality into being. It's easy to speak of frequency in cosmic terms, the geometry of energy, the mathematics of coherence, but here, in the intimacy of your nervous system, the grand equation becomes tender. You are not a machine made of atoms, you are awareness made of sensitivity, and that sensitivity is your most accurate instrument of creation. Think of the moments that defined you. Not the events themselves, but the feelings they evoked, the warmth of belonging, the sting of rejection, the weight of waiting for something that never came. Those sensations didn't vanish. They became frequencies coded into your electromagnetic field. Every choice you make now, every face you draw toward you, every pattern that repeats, is resonance playing out in slow motion. The past is not behind you. It hums quietly inside your present, shaping the waveforms of your perception. This is why personal transformation cannot happen through thought alone. Thought is surface vibration. Emotion is core frequency. The mind sends signals, the heart sends signatures. You can tell yourself, "I am free," but if your emotional field is still broadcasting captivity, the quantum field will mirror that truth instead. The field always obeys the dominant vibration. You've felt this, haven't you? That strange déjà vu of emotional repetition, meeting different faces who trigger the same ache, entering new environments that somehow replay old fears. It isn't punishment. It's feedback. The universe is a perfect mirror, showing you the invisible architecture of your own energy until you choose to retune it. The question then becomes, how do you shift the broadcast? How do you move from frequencies of contraction, fear, lack, unworthiness into the harmonics of expansion, trust, abundance, belonging? The answer is deceptively simple. By feeling differently, fully, without resistance. The energy trapped in emotion is the raw material of creation. When you stop suppressing it, it transforms. Grief becomes depth, anger becomes clarity, fear becomes presence. Every emotion, when felt consciously, becomes coherence. This is why the heart's field expands when we allow ourselves to feel without judgment. The energy that was once fragmented into resistance reorganizes into rhythm. The brain, perceiving this harmony, shifts its wave pattern. The body relaxes, the immune system strengthens, and the field, your personal broadcast tower to the cosmos, clears its static. Emotional mastery is not emotional control, it's emotional alchemy. Control resists feeling, alchemy listens to it. To listen is to harmonize, and to harmonize is to create. You've seen this alchemy in motion. When someone radiates genuine joy, rooms soften around them. Strangers smile without knowing why. The air feels lighter, possibility thicker. That isn't metaphor, it's physics. Their coherent field literally entrains the electromagnetic fields of others, syncing brain and heart rhythms into temporary unity. The result is what we call connection, empathy, love, and it's not limited to people. The same effect ripples through events, opportunities, and probabilities. The moment your emotional field stabilizes into coherence, the outer world begins to move in synchrony. Emails arrive at the perfect time. Ideas unfold effortlessly. Coincidences cluster into clarity. The field is simply responding to the new tone you've set. But there's a paradox. Most people try to reach this state by denying their human pain, by pretending to be high frequency while silently resisting their shadows. Yet every emotion you reject continues to vibrate beneath the surface, distorting the signal. The field cannot be fooled. Wholeness, not positivity, is what coherence truly is. The mystics knew this. That's why they didn't seek to transcend the human experience. They sought to inhabit it so completely that no resistance remained. Rumi said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." He was describing coherence. The moment you meet your pain without separation, it transforms from obstacle to portal. So perhaps the purpose of feeling is not to suffer, but to tune. Every sorrow you face consciously becomes part of the orchestra of awakening. Every joy, every tear, every heartbeat is another note in the great symphony of the field. Pause here. Breathe gently into your chest. Feel that subtle warmth beneath your sternum. That is not emotion, as you've been taught to define it. It is energy remembering how to move freely. That movement is your signal, your conversation with the infinite. And when you begin to feel deliberately, truthfully, courageously, You become what the ancients called the clear mirror, the human through whom the cosmos sees itself without distortion. In the next part, we'll journey deeper into this emotional intelligence, into the frequency of feeling itself, to understand how your emotions don't just color reality, they command it. Because emotion isn't reaction, emotion is creation in motion.